into that. Considering that we don't have a super high group, but it's substantial enough to create a discussion, to create some level of involvement. So I suggest you feel free to like unmute yourself, ask question during the presentation, but we'll also take the Q&A at the end. The presentation will last for about like most likely 20-25-ish minutes, and this was already presenting during the SaaS Talk conference in Krakow about a month ago, and I like the overall feedback for the material was pretty good. So this is why we decided to publish it also online. Okay, so without further ado, my name is Maciej Wilczyński. I'm a managing partner at ValueShips, a pricing boutique consultancy. And today we're going to discuss about top pricing mistakes and why this is happening, from like basically where do SaaS companies make mistakes. But we're also going to discuss it from not like, hey, this is your pricing page and you should, create a better discounting. We will be rather discussing it from the more strategic management perspective, more from the perspective of actual dynamic capabilities of these companies. So this should be I hope this should be pretty interesting. So before we begin, let's start from something that is most important, and I tend to start every pricing conversation and presentation from it. So what is the profit, right? Profit, effectively, what it means to create profit, what is like, how it works in any company, in many business environment, in generally, like whatever you do, you sell oranges, you sell aircraft, you sell software as a service products. Profits is always a price multiplied by unit volume, and obviously that makes your revenue minus costs, which are fixed costs and variable costs. And the reason why I'm showing this is the fundamental equation of every business works this way. If I'm selling legal services, I'm having a certain hour cost, like, or mandate cost. I'm selling it and I multiply it. I have an office cost. I have like logistics cost. If I'm selling oranges on the market, I have a certain price of these oranges. I have tons of these oranges. I have the costs of gathering them, distributing them, selling them. That's kind of obvious for every company. And in fact, whatever you do in any business, whatever you do in like when it comes to the improvement of your business, just whatever you do, marketing, sales, finance management, administration, pricing, obviously, whatever you do at the end of the day impacts these 4 levers. At the end of the day, this is all that matters. And I try to make this a fundamental thing, because when it's come to pricing, we need to get something straight. Price has the biggest impact on your profitability. So what it means is, what you see on this chart is that 1% improvement in pricing, like if you increase price by 1% and like improve it, not only increase but improve it by 1%, you have a profitability impact of, according to different studies, but let's say more or less about 10%. It's substantially higher than working on your variable cost, on selling more, or working on your fixed cost. This is especially critical when it comes to unit volume, because when the crisis hits, the companies tend to, we have a war, previously we had like COVID, companies tend to push pricing like to their limits. They decrease the price and they hope that their overall unit volume will increase. But in fact, it goes quite the opposite. You don't sell that much because there is a certain thing like price sensitivity, that people don't necessarily buy less if you lower the price. That's a critical thing to understand. So what you need to remember from this chart is that the reason why we're seeing each other here is that price has the biggest impact on your profitability. And also, as Hermann Siemens, one of the founder founders of the pricing as a science said, there is no single lever as strong as improvement in pricing. So I'm encouraging you to rethink your pricing policy right now. So when it comes to SaaS companies, like Price Intelligently actually did the survey when they have realized the same concept, that improvement in monetization of your products actually creates the higher profitability. So to say, this is effectively very similar. The results are very similar to what we have seen in the overall market index. And the funny thing is that most of the software as a service publications in the on blogs, on webinars, on conferences are actually focused on acquisition, growth, so to say, and retention. Relatively, not so many of them like focus on monetization, and we kind of understand why it is happening. And this is why what we're going to tell you now. The problem is that the reason for that is we have actually how we know this is we have actually done the research on numerous pricing companies. It is also done for actual science, for my PhD research. What we have done is we have created a pricing maturity capability index in which we ask about 40 to 45 questions. I don't remember right now, but they are asking software as a service companies on 4 dimensions: pricing strategy, pricing operations, pricing mindset, and pricing enablers. This is like the dashboard chart that you will receive from us if you have filled this survey. If you don't, then we will come back to you. So basically what happens is we have gathered like the benchmark from over 215 companies worldwide. We have asked SaaS companies and B2B companies. That's critical, because we wanted to compare the traditional, non-digital companies, selling car parts, manufacturing, B2B retailers, wholesale players, everything that is non-cloud, non-software, so to say. So we wanted to compare them against each other. And what we have realized, and these results are actually statistically significant, is that SaaS companies, they lose in 3 and 4 of these categories. The only category where they kind of have the better approach is the pricing mindset. What is in the pricing so what is in the pricing mindset? And actually I will describe more or less what is in which dimensions. So pricing strategy is effectively how you set the price, how well you're creating the pricing, overall pricing strategy. So willingness to pay, understanding the nitty-gritty details of your like kind of business model, things like that. In pricing operation, this is actually how well you are delivering the pricing, so kind of the execution of your pricing strategy. So discounting policies, like sales management, generally the active profitability management, things that are more connected to the day-to-day life of a startup. Pricing mindset, on the other hand, is how well you collaborate on your pricing function within the organization. And where SaaS companies win with the overall B2B companies is the founder's mindset. The fact that founders are mostly very heavily involved in making pricing decisions in this organization makes SaaS companies slightly better than the B2B companies. And this is the only factor like influencing the most of the variance that we have actually seen here, is that the founder's mindset. So in other words, this is actually a huge advantage that software as a service companies can achieve. This is how well you collaborate with the team, how well you're creating the environment for pricing change. This is more or less connected to organizational culture. We didn't see the statistical like significance on that, but our hypothesis this will go somewhere there. And pricing enablers, these are the tools that you have for pricing management. So how well you're actually understanding your unit economics, your granularity of costs, your price waterfall, your margin leakages. And generally speaking, the companies are not that so to say not that great in it. And as you can see, most of the company, like on the when it kind of if you take the index, most of these companies, they don't move above like 70%, while there are some, but most or less this is like 70, you receive like about 70% of these indices. So considering that it was a certain scaling effect, certain like bias, I would say this is not an enormously great score for B2B companies, and for SaaS companies this is even worse. And we kind of have the hypothesis why this is happening. So what you're seeing here is an average economic profit of companies. While we don't have yet the data for, like, this is pretty old, this is but still valid. I would say the software pharmaceuticals are much higher. We need to update it. But what you see here is that software as a sector creates so much economic power, that economic profit, that by its pure existence and pure disruptable ability, that you don't necessarily need to think on your pricing strategy. If you look kind of on this blue and blue and to the black columns, you can actually see how the sectors with like lower economic profit or actually negative economic profit are actually boosting their pricing strategy. What it means is, the more competitive your sector is, the more focused you are on actually delivering, like, kind of like taking everything from your dollar, right? So to kind of increase the return on sales, return the investment on capital, because these are hard sectors to be in. And software is actually a great sector to be in. You don't need to be super smart to be in the software sector. It's like, where you play matters more than how you play. But can you even imagine what would happen if you played in the software sector but actually managed to take certain pricing strategies from even telco, or generally like technology, hardware, storage, and peripherals? From the way the food products price their consumer goods. It's like, it's an enormous opportunity and economic rent to achieve by only by increasing your pricing capabilities. Like, so the fact that you're already well privileged as a software company can also move you further. So what happened during the last month since this presentation was obviously the recent inflation cost. We'll have like 15% inflation only in Poland. There is a crisis, there is a certain ambiguity and anxiety on the markets. We don't know what will happen, and this is actually the best moment to increase prices, and this is the best moment to fully leverage your pricing potential, and this is actually where you can really push for making more of it. If you like kind of look at that from what we have done here, and I certainly wanted to kind of focus on that, is like, I have copied a certain value propositions from SaaS companies like LiveChat, Intercom, Contentino, Brand24, GetResponse, Callpage, SimilarWeb. And these messages like tell you a lot about the value proposition, about how these companies try to market them on themselves on the market. And this is a critical concept when it comes to SaaS companies, because this is the value your product creates. And right now we're going to focus on the value drivers, on the value waterfall of the SaaS company. It's like, first of all, there's like a certain value created. So it is mostly seen by your actual users. So your value proposition on your landing page doesn't necessarily reflect the actual value of your product. And this is where most companies fail, where they can't really show this value, not only on to their customers, but on the very moment of actual purchase. Then there is like a perceived value. So how well you're communicating it. And this is where we're coming to this value proposition. This is why I showed them in the very beginning. They're mostly very broad, very general, save time with our tool, connect with your customers, make your campaigns better, ensure more leads. It's actually better, or sell more with Pipedrive. It's actually a good value proposition. But even the best companies don't really have the greatest like value propositions outlined. The reason is they mostly don't need to, but also they don't really know how. Because I will actually get into that, how to understand and quantify the value, because value is something that you can actually quantify to the customer. So hours of time saved, money saved, like the intangible and tangible benefits your product creates. This is actually what you can do with the when it comes to the value concept, and I will get into that. But there's a certain value created, then there's this perceived value, and this is where there is a value erosion. On the third part, there is like the amount of how much customer would pay, and this is where the pricing starts to kick in. So to like how someone said, like, price is what you pay, value is what you get. But even ancient Romans, when they were saying the word pretium was price and value, they were exactly the same in the meaning. So then it started to derive from the actual origin. But right now, as pricing consultants, as pricing experts, and also like as founders and managers, we should actually focus on ensuring the balance between the value sharing and the actual willingness to pay. So what happens is you want to maximize the willingness to pay of your customer, and there are certain analysis that can be done thanks to it. So I'm just trying to encourage you to think of what is the ROI of my product, expectations, the comparables, the budget, to think how much the customer can really pay, and also ask you very simple question, which will make your pricing suck slightly less, is, can I squeeze more dollars out of my customer? Am I really sure that I'm charging enough for the products and services? And you can actually look at the case study of Brand24 and the work we have done with them. Is like, we wanted to increase their overall MRR by 10%, and surprise, we did it for like 40%, and they have actually communicated it to the stock market. And this was a totally untapped lever of profitability and value creation that we help them unlock. And they are like, this is like the company is really beneficial of that, like reap the benefits of that. Sorry. So, but not only them, like there are so many companies on which understood that, yay, I can charge much more. And I will get into the actual exercise to show you this. Then there's a target price. So ideally, you want to ensure that your target price maximizes the willingness to pay. So this is kind of price differentiation, granularity of your pricing model. Whether this is heavily influenced by packaging as well, but you need to ensure that if the customer wants to pay $49 for this particular product, I'm paying $49 for this particular product, not like 30 or 29 or 19. And then there's like the my favorite one, which is the transactional discounting problem and the realized price. So one thing is like your price setting, and second, in B2B context, this also happens, is like a realized price. So how well am I actually realizing the price of my product? So the fact that I have a certain listed price doesn't necessarily mean that I'm charging all of my customers like this price, because there are discounts, there are custom plans, there are custom profiles. Hey, can you add me more social profiles to my account? Can you give me this? Can you add me this? And in most companies, in most like situations, companies are like, yes, sure, why not? We are super customer centric. So being customer centric doesn't necessarily mean that you should give the value for free. This is important. So these four buckets, how I call them, they're like the four horsemen of pricing apocalypse, and I want us to cover them now. So this gray bar shows you what we're focusing on, and usually when you do the pricing improvement, you kind of start from right to left, because this is like the quick win. These are like the, as they say, the lowest hanging fruit, and this is something that is easiest to identify and easiest to create initial impact. My suggestion for you guys is to, actually not only guys, I'm sorry, for like the group, is go through your list price. So create a columns where you have your accounts, your listing price, and the discounts, and see how many of your peers, according to various plans, are above or below. And you'll talk to your sales team and they say, we are not giving discounts at all. And when you do this analysis, you realize that 20, 30, or maybe 40% of your actual customer base is below. This usually happens when you grandfather your customers during the price increases processes. So this usually happens when you you don't ensure that all your customers pay the same price. So we have increased the prices, but only for the old customers. This is like the most common pitfall that I'm seeing when it comes to the price management. This is how it's called grandfathering, right? And in this case, it was a client case. We have realized that only in July 2021 they have lost between, according to the modeling that we have applied, they have lost between $24,000 to $48,000 in MRR, monthly recurring revenue. So, and it was, by the way, it was like $250,000 company, like in MRR. So you can see that they were effectively losing about like 20% of their business by not having the pricing properly adjusted to the actual customers. So the transactional discounting was really bad. This is what we call margin leakages, or unconscious discounting. And also another take is that another client example, another client case is like, most likely you will have custom customers, which are just a justification for your pricing mess. So in most cases, it's like we have like plan, like good, better, best, or like pro, premium, business, suite, enterprise, whatever. And they are not usually personal based, but whatever. And also there's a substantial share of your customers that have custom plan. In this case, it was about 15% of the entire customer base that they actually had the custom plans. What we have realized here is that only by lifting up these customers, we would get also depending on the modeling, but let's say about like between 15 to 20K uplift if you just put them into the right plans, right? So even if just aligned with the actual plans, then we did some modeling, and it was like 150,000 MRR company, right? So not super big, but also like if you consider that if you're like $150,000 company and there's like 20K that you can achieve from ensuring that these accounts pay the right price, show me the growth hack that creates the same impact. Show me, and I'm going to like, okay, yeah, you have seen it, that's great. Show me one growth hack where you increase your conversion by 50%, which has the same impact as actually carrying of your 4 levers, like of your profit levers. There is no. Also, what you need to keep in mind here, and I really want to emphasize it, is that price elasticity generally work in your favor. So in this case, you, like the client could, like we have did this like churn modeling scenario. So it was not actual churn modeling, but kind of like a risk versus value analysis. So how much MRR, kind of scenario analysis, and kind of like a sanity check, because we didn't have that much data. Client was relatively small. So how much MRR you can actually get if you, and how many customers you will lose in, if like how many customers you can actually lose. And what we have realized is that among all your customer base, you could sacrifice 25% customers. You could have like a 25% logo churn. So 4 times higher than your current churn. Can you imagine if you have 5%, like 6% or 5% churn, you have like 20 to 25% churn. This is never going to happen, but this is like the worst case scenario, the situation that is like a total apocalypse, and still you're achieving the 3% MRR uplift. I have never ever seen a case where price increase in SaaS company, and I'm not saying like $2,000 from $100 price increase, but rather like 20, 30, 40% price increase resulted in such churn. But the reason why we're doing this, the reason why you should doing is to ensure that, yeah, this could work. This should work. And this is what you should maximize. It's one thing is to grow and create your customer base. Yes, this is one thing. But at the same time, getting more dollar from your customer also allow you to secure more growth. In most cases, if you're going to do 10 to 20% price increase, nothing going to happen. Also, right now there's a 15% inflation. You need to increase prices. You need to increase prices. If you don't, you're effectively losing money. That's why you should increase prices. So regular price increases leads to higher average revenue per user. This is definitely intuitive, but you need to do it per, like the companies which do it per, like regularly, they are actually, this is a study on 3,000 companies, by the way, and they are actually seeing the much higher average revenue per user. And this is according on how well you're receiving the prices. Actually, improving your prices every quarter allow you to create achieve a significant market premium. What I suggest is review your prices every quarter. Review. Ensure that it is fine. Ensure that this is okay. Run some research. Not A/B testing. You shouldn't A/B test prices, and I can elaborate more later why. But review it 2 times a year, 4 times a year, and increase it at least 2 times a year. Increase it, change it, and not necessarily increase, because you can create some product with like lower pricing, but review process should be constant and cyclical. But speaking of inflation, we need to update it with the new data, because the inflation is much higher. But your customer acquisition cost grows in time. Generally, it grows in time. The developers' costs are more problematic. The marketing is more demanding. The market is more crowded. At the same time, people are more and more spoiled by the freemium and by the free product. So the overall willingness to pay decreases with time. So what was a premium? This is like a standard, innovation curve. This is what is happening here. So what happens here is actually you don't want to. It's like having your money on a deposit while the inflation eats all your money. This is exactly the same. So once a year, you should at least do an inflation adjustment. I will show you why we should. I will show you a different example from a different sector for the company that we have also worked for. It was a B2B company in the courier parcel services. Do you know that parcel services, like DHL, FedEx, DPD, all these companies, postal offices, they make pricing adjustment every 2 months because they have like the fuel tariff, they have tax tariff, they have like all these things, and they constantly adjust the pricing. So can you imagine a SaaS company adjusting the prices even for the new clients every 4 months? This is like one of the most forgotten levers of value creation that every company should seize. And you're increasing the customer base, you're growing 50% year to year. Sure, great, amazing. So it means you can actually get more customers. We have the most innovative product on the market. We don't have competition on the market. So if you don't have competition on the market, you definitely should increase prices because you pretty much have a monopoly or oligopoly on this market. So you really should push for making these prices higher. This is like the biggest incentive you can do. And yes, this would influence your growth because growth is effectively based on your revenue. If you get more revenue, if you get more top line growth from your pricing, again, we're coming to our equation: price multiplied by volume. Everyone is happy. You have more profit, you have more cash to reinvest. This is a flywheel that you can apply. Okay, price setting failure. This is something that also is relatively easy to improve. It's like basically what you need to do is understand this curve of price and cost, and price and cost. Yes, and there are like certain customer segments. So you want to feel, if you see here my space, I'm living in the upper building. So this is your curve here, and this is the space. You want to feel the space under this curve as much as possible, and this is what is exactly happening here. This is why we have standard, budget, premium segments, and this is why the for instance the usage-based pricing models are so popular, because they are actually allowing you to create the like to differentiate across your customer base. This is where it actually allow you to capture value for different customer segments. But kind of to show you on this different example, so this is the analysis that we have done. This is the Van Westendorp price sensitivity meter. You just Google price sensitivity meter Van Westendorp. There are like these 4 questions that you see here. At what price would you consider the product when it starts to get expensive, too expensive, expensive, cheap, and too cheap? Effectively, this is like this what these questions mean. So you're actually asking these questions. Ideally, for the SaaS company, you need to have like 150 responses, and it's like a super solid survey question. You can purchase it on Polfish for like $4. So for about $500-$600, you can have such chart created. The return on investment from such as I showed you, the return on investment is pretty solid. So what is happening here is, not knowing into details how these curves are actually crossing each other, but we have realized that this client had like an optimal price at $89, while the pricing corridor started more or less from like 39, 59-ish to 99. Like this was the optimal price corridor, although we could push it even further. But these were the initial client price points. They had the product for like 19, 29. They had a product for 69, and they had a product for 99. So what we have recommended is we have literally killed the lowest plan. We have pushed the 29th plan. So what we have done in this product here, let me just show you we have killed this plan. We have pushed this plan here, and this plan went here, and this stayed as an anchor. So this is what we did here, and we have realized that again, like the impact was pretty tremendous, like substantial. Like, I don't remember the details, but about like 20-ish, 23 or 24% MRR increase. It was a German fintech client. Very nice case study. But the point is that when they realized, like when I saw the founder, and he was like, "Whoa, really? Oh my god!" Right? And they were like, literally, they had this reaction that they literally were like super surprised by the fact that, come on, this just can't be true, right? That in fact, as you can see on this yellow line, that their product as a fintech product for SMB companies, they were priced so low that it was actually reducing the quality of the product and the price perception of this product. So this is the again kind of connected to the pricing, like the perceived value. So also, when it comes to evaluating your product, customers don't really see the value they were promised. This is especially important in the trial. So that's why it's important to create a certain value metric that supports the scaling process, the product success, so to say. You have these criteria that you can use. So there is a value alignment. So this is the most critical. So does the metric align to customer value? Most companies, I know, like they play around with like some metrics like seats, users. This is the easiest one. But if you're not Slack, if you're not Asana, if you're not Jira, if you're not Trello, if you're not like a collaboration software where the seat actually matters, so you're not going anywhere. So actually, what is funny for the companies like that is they are not scaling on the seats, even though they're communicated. They are actually scaling on the company size. So they are growing with the companies. But if your product is a marketing tool, if your product is even CRM, CRM is like discussable. But if your product is not necessarily aligned with the seat usage, but more on the scale, if you have a data product, if you have like some testing product, monitoring product, campaign product, definitely like seats are not the most aligned with the value that you create. So what is important, and I will show you that, is to produce a certain value equation to better understand this. There is a scalability effect. So does this metric allow me and my customer for a long-term growth? So will it be like that the customer will pay a certain price and they won't stop paying further? This is bad. Rather, will they actually be will it allow me to scale this customer ideally infinitely? Auditability is actually when this metric is transparent in an objective and how it's measured, whether it's objective and transparent. And the biggest problem I've seen among all metrics when it comes to auditability and transparency is actually like there are two types of metrics. One is projects, where you try to price per project. No one really knows what a project is. Even if I asked you right now, you wouldn't like, you would have certain like super different definitions of a project. And also another is workspaces. Workspaces are very good for like customers who know their stuff, but they by all means they don't know what is it. Workspace. What is a workspace? It's like rooms, they're like boards, like whatever. People don't know. So this is where it's hard to get it. Acceptability is actually ensuring that your customers accept it and they are saying, yeah, I'm fine with this. So where many metrics fail is like, for instance, all these customer success metrics, like success fees. This is to some extent acceptable, some not, depending on the use case. But this is where some companies, they think, like if I would, this is like the most common feedback that you would receive is, if I would apply this pricing for my usage, I would pay like $2,000 instead of 200. I'm not going to happen. And the last thing is predictability, is like whether it's like allow you to pay, like to kind of budget it, in other words. And Funny thing, I'm going to show you the difference between the Polish market and American market. Is like if you talk to SaaS customers in United States, they are mostly focused on value alignment and scalability. This is like literally like statistically significant difference. While if you talk to customers in Central Eastern Europe and especially Poland, they are the most important aspect for them is acceptability and predictability. And we actually did, like, as I told you, like we did like 50 projects in within like now and like 2020, early 2020, and this is like the biggest difference among these customers, right? So we want to be acceptable, we want to predict, we want to ensure that it's, yes, this is how it is. I'm going to pay $50. That's fine. In US, okay, if it gives me value, if there is an ROI effect, fine, I can pay it. And this is like the strong difference. When you have your, wait a second, you also need to think of your features. So the features that which you're actually producing. So basically, in a very very simplified form, and you can actually very easily like research it through like maxdiff / best worst choice methodology. I'm not going to get into details, but even having a framework like this when you're planning features could actually help, or actually doing some floor tests, whatever. So basically, you can divide your features on this X to Y axis. On Y is willingness to pay. So how much am I actually going to pay for it? So this. And X is my preference magnitude. So how important this feature actually is for me. And what happens is you have differentiable features with high value, high willingness to pay. Then you have core features that are important for the masses, but not necessarily going to pay for it. Then there is a trash land, which is like no one cares, no one wants to pay. And there are add-ons which have not so many people want them, but if they want them, they really want to pay. And what happens is that most worldwide leaders say that they are building this product, this type of sub-product. But if you actually look at customer data, they are creating something like this. So I'm going to show it once again. This is what we're saying we're building. This is what we're actually building. So in other words, this is what you could call a product market fit, right? So this is what is actually happening, and this is like super powerful chart, but this is pretty unfortunate for us. So if your developer and product, if your product team is going to show you on the roadmap that, we're going to create this awesome labeling for posts, or awesome labeling for like tagging system or labeling system, we are talking about this because in most cases this is like the least needed feature in the products according to the data. So yeah, you better like give them a day off to rethink their entire product roadmap and the process. I strongly encourage to keep clients in the loop, in the product loop, because this is where you can probably reduce the effect of not creating something what customers want. But while companies tend to create products that people want, and they are great in it, they are not necessarily creating the products people want to pay for. And this is the biggest challenge of SaaS companies, right? Because everyone wants to create product customers love. This is like what you usually see and hear. But also you should be which is slightly, I would say about 10%, 15% share in the communication slogan is solve problems, right? So you should connect these two. Yeah, make sure people want this, but also and love this by all means, but also ensure that they want to pay for it, that they feel value from it. So value in use, this is the concept. This is this unseen value that I want you to pay for it, and this is especially useful for B2B cases, like big B2B cases. And I'm going to show you a very nice framework that we are applying as well. But this is actually a framework that I use to work with clients, but also like feel free to use it on your own. You can look at it in Google as total cost of ownership, economic value analysis. Forrester has it as total economic impact analysis. This type of structured approach to value understanding, because the value concept is, everyone has it on their business model canvas in their value proposition, but no one, about, according to my data, about 10 to 15% of the companies actually apply value-based pricing principles. And this is not my data, but Professor Ziliozu, with whom I write a few books. I'm looking if I have this somewhere here, but like ping me, I can share later. So imagine a cost-reducing technology, that you're having a cost-reducing technology, that you're like a like a lightning manufacturer. If guys from Luxon are hearing me now, cheers, guys. I'm going to use this example. Imagine that you have the cost-reducing technology, and what you can do very easily with your client, and this is what you teach your sales teams to do, but not so many companies do it on the product from the product perspective, kind of like inside out. You teach people to do it like, to push it to the customers, that how to sell, but are you actually pricing according to this? This is critical. So talk to your sales guys, and they will actually tell you a lot about the value. But client has a certain annual costs, right? Then you show them that this cost can be reduced. We can reduce this cost by this amount. Clear value to customer, that we will save you $150,000 a year. Then there is an ROI. We say that it's more or less 5 months, 6 months, whatever, depending on the case. And then you multiply it by and then you create the price. So what happens is you need to ensure that you're capturing the right amount of value of your product. And there is a framework for that, obviously. So according to experts from Professional Pricing Society, which partner from ValueShips, Chris Szyszkiewicz, is actually a member of, they did this exercise, on one conference, and they have realized that there is a certain like rule of thumb that you can apply. It's like 20 to 80% of the value created versus shared. So if I'm creating 100 units of value, I can freely take 20% of these units. But how should I actually increase it? Is if I know two factors: how tangible and concrete is the value, so the actual money on the table, and how big direct is my overall contribution to the customer success. So am I actually solving this need, or am I rather merely reporting this need? This is critical. So imagine a software that is an analytics software. That's why analytics software has such shitty willingness to pay, because they are showing the great value. So this is the amount of money that you're losing. Do something with it, but it's not doing it for you, right? So there is no value in it. On the other hand, tools that have direct contribution to success, like collaboration tools, can't really show the tangibility of the value because they are saving time. But what is time? How to calculate time? Although there are ways of showing the time equivalence, not easy, very highly challengeable by the customers, but it's doable. So you need to really think through according to your 2 dimensions here. And if you're doing it well, you can do a 50% equal split of the value. And why this is it? Let's get to back to the founder principles. If you have two founders in the startup, they are usually doing, we're making a company, we're making a partnership. There are like two of us. We do a 50-50 equal split. This is what is happening, right? But then somewhere in time, one founder works more, one founder works less. There are like certain problems, and the 50-50 sharing is not equal, and then we have discussions and negotiations. So if you approach a client within like carta blanca approach, you can actually take 50-50%. So for instance, if you're so sure of your customer success, of your success team, this is where you can easily apply the success fees. Not pay us anything, pay us later, all these types that are actually, there are not so many models that actually, but that actually can do it. So this is kind of like the ideal approach. So for instance, how we are pricing our services at value ships, we know the value. We can create the MRR increase of every SaaS company by about 10%. This is like for sure. In most cases it's much higher, but 10% is kind of like insured. And if you're like 150,000 companies, we know we can increase it by 15,000. Then we multiply it by a year, and this is how we try to take 20%. And we have a hard time, trust me, we have a hard time encouraging clients to actually believe us. And why? Because our contribution is somewhat indirect. We don't have an influence of pricing decisions if they're actually going to implement our recommendations or not. So that's where we are actually having a serious challenges. So we can very easily calculate the impact, calculate the everything. We are super data driven, but we have a hard time in actually contributing to the not a hard time in contributing, but we don't have a full influence over the implementation process, although we're trying to do it, and in some cases we do. In some cases, client may not want this recommendation, or for instance, the product is not ready. This is also one of the many pitfalls where we recommend price increases and the product is not ready. So that's what you should do in your model. So revenue, engine diagnostics, so these MRRs, these listing prices, these segments. Then check your competition, then do the research and go within the implementation. You remember, even the best strategy is nothing if it never gets past the PowerPoint. Actually, I'm going to skip this. These are my contacts. In case contact information, if you want to discuss, I'm staying here for a moment. And yeah, that would be about it. And yeah, I'm looking for questions if there are any. Feel free. Yep. Greg, you need to like click this microphone and then I've asked you for audio. Yeah, hi there.
Yes, hi, hello. Just a quick question, Maciek. What is the typical model that you implement whilst working with clients? Is it a project fee, hourly rate, or?
It's a project fee based on hourly fees according to the size of the business and complexity of the business. If it's like the scale up, it's like where you actually have like MRRs, there's a slightly different project fee because the impact and the granularity of analysis is higher. If you're like a young startup and want to discuss, we usually apply kind of more workshop driven approach. Although we do analysis, but we also like co-create it together with ensuring that you don't make rookie mistakes, for instance, with the value metric. So this is how it works.
Okay, and what would be the typical? Because we are at the stage where we're just starting off. We do have a pricing strategy in place, but not yet started monetizing that. So we'll be actually doing that starting May this year. So would that be the right moment to discuss with you guys the pricing strategy before we even started monetizing, or to have say 6 months of track record of working with customers and then speak to you?
No, I would you can reach out to us. In worst case scenario, we're going to have like a 1 hour conversation, and this is for all of you guys, where we will actually maybe solve one or two of your questions. We will know your business better. I would actually take it offline, like ping me an email on maciej@valueships.com, and we're going to set something up. And at least in worst case scenario, we're going to have like 30 or 60 minutes of my time, and I can actually maybe help you.
Sure. So definitely, I fully agree with everything that you said, and it seems obvious that pricing and the way we set that up and the way we work around that is critical, and it brings obvious benefits for the business in financial terms, and understand and knowing how few companies actually do it. So we do believe in the importance of that. So we'll be very happy to speak with you.
Yeah. So this is, as you said, in the meantime, anyone has also questions, I'm happy to answer. So just raise your hand. But in the meantime, yes, Greg, I totally agree. This is as I showed as I presented in the data. This is the biggest profitability generator on the market generally. That is, if you like all the profitability generators, profitability levers, if you go to profitability levers shop, pricing is the hottest product in town. Anyone else?
Maciej, please look at the chat. There are some questions there.
Okay. Let me check. Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay, best practices for raising prices. How to communicate it to the customers? That's an amazing question, and I actually think that there are a few ways of doing it in the right way. The first thing is actually tell your customers why. Maciej, can you share later the article on from Utpal Dolakia on HBR? Is like, if you're telling, and I'm also mentioning this title. If you're raising prices, tell your customers why. This was a Harvard Business Review article, very nice one, and they are actually. And I totally agree with this approach. Is that you should tell your customers why, and not say, we are doing certain revenue optimization, whatever. No, we're raising prices because X, Y, Z, and the reason we are increasing prices is we have did the amazing product roadmap. We have added multiple features. We are growing as hell and whatever. And this is just come out from the value perspective of your product. Of kind of, there is a certain thing in a certain factor heavily influencing the pricing decision, which is called organizational confidence. So the more confident the organization is in their overall product, in their overall organization, in their pricing strategy, the more margins they're actually creating. So this is, and also US companies, they have slightly higher organizational confidence than European ones. So this is one of the reasons. So you should be not bravely courageous without thinking, but rather tell you why you're increasing the prices. This is one thing. Second thing is, do the analysis beforehand. We actually have a blog post on that, how to increase prices to existing customers. There is a whole blog post. Maciej can also share it after, or even in the chat right now, on our ValueShips website. You can actually read how to go with it, and there is like a certain guidelines on going there with your customers, where you can do one analysis, then you do one analysis, then you check how many customers. You need to do some modeling beforehand to fully gain this organizational confidence that, yes, I know why I'm doing this. I know that I can deliver it. I know that it won't kill my business, because this is the hardest part. Sometimes we spend 3 to 4 months on the client side just to tell them you should increase the prices, and they are like, no, we shouldn't. And we are showing them different data points, different scenarios that you can do it. And this is one thing. And the last thing is, like, be a human being. If someone says, no, I can't really pay, fine, custom plan. But you need to segment your customers for like A, B, C, D, E segments to actually, they should buy it without any problem. They should, do it like this. They should be they might have a problem. For them, we need to have a custom plan. For and yep, we might lose them, and this is fine to lose customers, but in most cases you want. Przemysław, great presentation, I love it, thank you, that means much for me. What would you say about user perception of prices if we ask them to price our service? E.g., before starting selling product, we perform a survey and ask users what would they pay for using our tool. Should we listen and take average, or rather set it up higher? Most likely, Przemek, I haven't seen the survey, but if you're writing what you're writing here, I'm pretty sure that your survey questions were not asked in the right way. If you're like, this is why Van Westendorp asks 4 different types of questions, and then you triangulate them per customer. If you have asked them this way, there is a certain possibility of, although analyze it, check the data, if it's,
Nie wiem,
check
czy
it.
Wacom rozmawiał z tym, bo nie robiłem follow-upu.
Someone is
Umowy powoli
not
spływają.
on mute.
Już jakby wiesz, nic istotnego nie wydarzy do świąt, a ja się...
Okay, thank you. So basically, yeah, nothing important will happen till the Easter for sure. So very possible that you didn't really get the meaningful data. There is a certain bias. There is a certain basically, you shouldn't ask this question this way. Like, you can send me the survey later on. I can check it, but you shouldn't ask this question this way. This is why there's this whole methodology of pricing question. This is why I strongly recommend PSM. It's actually so easy that you can very easily do it in Google Forms. So that's why I recommend it to the founders, because this is like 4 questions instead of 1, but effort is pretty much the same. But what you can do is actually talk to customers and go run interviews, like qualitative interviews, and ask them about the value of the product. So don't get too attached to the price. Price is actually a second, third most important thing in the pricing. Value component is the most important, and this is what you should actually be more focused on. So where do you see the value? What else would you like to see? How would you use it? How would it influence your business? Things like that. This is actually where you can fully leverage the potential. Anyone else? Do you have any questions? I still have, yeah. Krzysiek, we have decreased annual discount by 15% in mid-Jan for the new customers. Can we measure the impact right now, or should we wait? What metrics to follow? First of all, great idea. You did well. A good discount for SaaS companies is about 10, 15, maybe 17%. I don't but all means I don't recommend going above 20%. Maybe if you really want to push this plan. If you're doing like 50%, 70%, 80% discounts, or if you're offering your app on AppSumo, like punch your head in the wall. Don't do it. Mid-Jan for the new customers. So it means that you probably have a 3 months iteration for now. I would wait for the April, end of the April. So you would have at least 3 full months to actually see it. And remember to cut it in the cohorts, because most likely you wouldn't see but I don't know the size of your business, so maybe the population, like the sample, won't be substantial enough to actually have the results. And also these are annual, so probably like 10 to 15% of your customers, right? So that might be the challenge. Where you will most likely see the differences is in the monthly plans. This is the quickest ones to see. Where you will actually see the difference in the ARPU, like in the average revenue per user. This is the right metric to track here. But also another metric is actually, do you actually apply this discount, like decreased discount, to the new customers, to the old customers, so the ones that are expiring their plans? That's critical. And this is something that you should be mindful of, right? No, so so when they are like expiring, you should actively upsell them to the new plans with the reduced discounting, or with like you should refocus the pricing ranges. So generally the direction is good. The 550, I think 15%. I would go 10%. 10% is fine. I don't know the product. If the product is expensive, then 10% is definitely fine. But the direction is good, but probably there is much more to need. Well, 10% discount, good. Okay, so it's good. So we had 25%, so that was definitely far too high. So 10% is fine. Definitely, and I don't think you should be seeing the substantial difference in conversion. You will probably receive the difference in the ARPU. That's for sure. But I would push more for actually upselling the old customers to the new pricing model. That's for sure. Anyone else? Okay. So if there are like any more, like there are more questions, I'm pretty happy to take them offline. You have my email. You can contact us on website. You can read our content on value ships. There is like a Tidycall link, so you can like set up a meeting if you want to talk. I'm happy to do so. Maciej, I think it's a good idea to organize it more regularly. So I'm happy to announce that in May, mid-May, we will be actually having a webinar on exactly this topic: how to increase prices to existing customer base and fight the inflation. This is kind of the topic that we will be having. So how to fight, or maybe the other one, how to fight an inflation, how to fight an inflation with the pricing. And this is something that we're going to focus on. And yeah, maybe that would be also valuable for you guys. Przemysław writing something to us. Nope. Okay. So guys, thank you. Many thanks for having me here, for spending an hour of your precious time. That's I super appreciate it. I hope you have got some value of it. At Value Ships, we are like super happy. Although we are super crunched with work and we don't have time to publish content, we are trying to squeeze it. But we want to publish more of it. But in case you want to discuss, just let me know. I'm always happy to share knowledge. This is something probably coming from my lecturer background. So I hope you had some value in it. And take care. Good luck and happy Easter, or spring holidays, as non-Christians call it. So take care and have a great time off and successful Q2, I would say. Take care. Bye.